All right. For everyone that's joining us live on other platforms, just getting started as always. Gonna make sure all the things are working. All right. Beautiful. Good on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. All right. Starting recording in 3, 2, and 1. Good morning, evening, afternoon, magical beings. Welcome back to the show. Welcome back to another deep dive into your heart space and a conversation that's going to pull back some layers that are restricting your beautiful light from being shared in the world. And today's episode, I feel a lot of magic around, a lot of awakening, if you can call it that, coming in today. And I'm so excited to introduce a powerful woman. Before I get to her, as always, just to set a foundation for people joining live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, I would encourage you, if you have questions today that come up, I apply this to all episodes, but particularly today, if questions come up from what my lovely guest will be sharing today, please pop them in the comment section. I'd love to add in your voice. And if this episode hits your soul, please share it out far and wide with someone that you think it can support and help. With all of that, I just want to get straight into it. I have the pleasure to be having a conversation today with the divine Abbey Rose. We are going to have a discussion about what is spiritual accountancy, financial sovereignty, and what it means to untether and break free. Abbey Rose guides souls towards a soul-led legacy while exposing, and I'm going to put an underline here, exposing the secrets of the financial industry. Abbey has dedicated her life to helping as many people as she can take the leap into a professional, supportive, and nurturing environment so they can reach their unlimited potential financially and spiritually. Abbey, welcome to the Cosmic Love Antenna.
Oh, thank you. What an introduction. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. It's such a pleasure and an honor. And for those that are watching live, yes, please, if you have got questions, there's always questions. But I'll share as much as I can about what I can, given the nature of where we are. So it's just such a beautiful opportunity to be here, to be able to share my message and share the truth.
And what Abbey is alluding to around what can be shared and what can't be shared, really speaks to the nature of this topic today around the financial complex, the business complex, the governmental complex. And we're going to get into all of that, but I want to sort of start simple here and then go deep, Abbey, because I've spent a big amount of time with you now, in your container, in your field, in your energy, and your purpose in this world is gigantic and it can be felt. And I want to start this conversation with some gratitude, because my intention for this show today is to really help people in the way that I was helped by you, right? You have really helped me as a beautiful spiritual being ground into the practicality of what it means to be a human here in 3D form, specifically within the financial and business world. So first of all, I just want to say I'm grateful for you and all that you're doing in the world. And I guess the first question, to sort of jump straight into all of this, for all the souls that are listening, and I have global listeners, not just here in Australia, but a big portion in the US. Where do you start on this financial sovereignty journey? If you're awakening, you're starting to realize that there's some things that don't feel good within the sort of financial world for you. Where do you start, people?
Such a big question, because I think everybody's journey does start in different places. And as you mentioned, it is, business and financial. But just because it's business doesn't mean you have to have a business. My belief is that the awakening of the planet, the ascension of the planet, is to wake up out of the dormant state of complacency and slavery in employment and contracts that bind us into these positions, roles, jobs. And, the old American dream, right, was having a job and having it for life and buying a home and the white picket fence. And I'm sorry to say this, but that's not the dream. We were sold a lie. And, the security of jobs in this day and age, especially with all the new technology and everything that's evolving rapidly, jobs are dying. Jobs are dying, and that we're not secure. We're not secure in our jobs. So I believe that even for those that don't have a business, it's financial sovereignty, business sovereignty, legacy work is the waking up out of swapping time for money and making minimum wage and stepping into the light and the divine and finding your mission and finding your purpose and connecting to your passions and providing service to people from a place of love. And as a result of that service and that love that you have and that what you share, you're remunerated.
Yeah. Beautiful.
So I believe, my biggest passion as far as all the exit the matrix stuff, that's all well and good. But my biggest passion is seeing these light bulb moments come on where people can connect to the truth of who they are and then create revenue streams based on that.
Yeah. Let's talk about that exit, Abbey, because that is really, I think, part of your superpower as the soul that you are, is gracefully and lovingly and powerfully facilitating that exit from the matrix. And I was talking to my mum yesterday. She's here watching this on the live because I speak about you a lot, Abbey, and all the work that you do, and she's so interested. And I made a display for this live, and I was proud of myself because I found an image of your beautiful face and the earth with the matrix grid, and there was the sun coming up over the horizon and your face to the right of it. And for me, it was so powerful, not just because it looked really good, but it highlights what we're all stepping into. We're all stepping into this sovereign path of not just exiting the matrix and all of its pieces, but coming back to our power, our legacy, which we'll talk about here in a moment. So I guess what I want to ask you, Abbey, for me, as I've started to walk that untethered path and starting to exit the matrix, especially within the financial business world, there's been a lot of fear that comes up from authority, government, taxes, all the things. So what would you say to someone that has that fear? How do we start to move through it?
Great question, because fear is the biggest. What is it? The only thing in life that is certain is death and taxes. And it's my absolute pleasure to bust both of those myths.
My dad in my ear as you said that. Keep going.
Yeah. It's ingrained into us. And I want to explain what unconscious blueprints are, because unconscious blueprints are these belief structures and ideals that are passed down from generation to generation. And it's like the story of the little girl who was helping her mum prepare the Christmas roast. And they cut the roast in half to put it in the oven and cook it. And the little girl asked her mother, why? Why do we cut the roast in half? And the mother said, oh, that's just how my mother taught me to do it. Why don't we go and ask grandma why we cut the roast in half? And then the little girl went to the grandmother and asked why. And the grandmother said, well, that's how my mother taught me. And so we went to the great grandmother, and the little girl asked the great grandmother, why do we cut the roast in half when we cook it? And the great grandmother said, oh, my child, back in my day, the oven was very small, and the only way we could fit the roast in was to cut it in half. And then that's why it's passed down from generation to generation. So obviously in modern times, the ovens are quite large. So you can see that this behavior has been ingrained based on a belief structure that's outdated. And it's exactly the same with the tax system. The way that our economy operates and the way that our economy is structured is very different now to what it was, say, 30, 40, 50 years ago. Things have changed. There has been a corporatization of everything. And I call it the devil's playground because everything in the devil's playground, in the corporate space, in the business public sector space, is about profit. It's how the rich get richer, profiting off human activity. So it's not that you have to subscribe to this anymore. We do have a choice. We have a choice of whether we want to participate. And this is where, through years of research, education, process development, testing, and then rolling out, we have found the solutions for those souls who deeply desire to make decisions for themselves, not to rely on the governments, the corporations, the institutions, the Queen and the Pope. So it's not to say we're very different. It's not to say it's not like, fuck the system, like burn it to the ground. We are not like that. There is a level of respect, right? And it's full disclosure. So we respect the system, we see how it operates, and we choose to let go of those belief structures that no longer serve, the behaviors that don't belong or don't align, and we choose something else.
I want to speak about that something else because you've set it up beautifully, Abbey. But before I get to that, I just want to that image, that story of the way of doing things passed down the generations. That's a belief system, right? It's a belief system. I speak about a lot on this show, religious belief systems. The religious belief system, the biggest one that I speak about is that our God, our power is outside of us, right? It's a man on a cloud outside of us judging us. And, the government and the financial system is another ripple of that. It's another symptom and manifestation of that. I want to go now into, part of the solution, and you've teed it up here. And I'm so happy that you've highlighted, it's not about fighting fire with fire. It's not about breaking the system with more fear. It's about, hey, it's love and respect and understanding. Knowledge is power. But then deciding to build something else, going somewhere else and creating your own jurisdiction, your own space in which you can govern. So I'm wondering if you could speak to the power of this, Abbey, and maybe we can filter in some PMA stuff here.
Yeah. So, well, obviously if you're wanting to exit the system, you're wanting to exit the matrix, we're shifting economies, right? We're moving out of the public sector into the private sector. And the private sector has been around for a very long time. And number one thing about private sector is we don't talk about private sector. As an accountant, growing up, being indoctrinated into all of my accounting studies and business studies. I never learned a single thing about the private sector. It's very hush hush. But having said that, you know, when you understand through the full disclosure that you have choice, yeah, that's the waking up into the power. And I always say that I don't tell anybody what to do. I just give them both sides of the coin, the light and the dark, the in and the out, the up and the down, the public and the private, the straw man and the crown. Like, I share the information so you can see both sides of the coin and then make a decision of where you want to sit. Now, making that decision comes with the responsibility of education and learning, like you mentioned. Knowledge is power, and this is where we're maturing ourselves. We are growing up, because for a long time we've relied on mummy and daddy government to administer services on our behalf, and as a result, they take that information and they will use it against you. So, you know, if you're wanting to step away from that, we go through this maturing process, and it is an ascension journey. Anyone who thinks this is just a way to minimize your tax is sorely mistaken.
Can I just jump in there, Abbey, super quick, because it's just want to hit on this point, because you speak about this a lot, and I just want to affirm this, that, you know, this financial sovereignty journey and doing all the tax stuff, PMA stuff we're going to speak about, because it's these deep-seated belief systems. They're not just there by themselves, just hanging out. They usually come with a lot of suppressed emotion, suppressed fear, suppressed power. So that's going to come with a lot of energetic detoxing and yeah. So I want to underline that for people listening. This is an awakening experience.
100%. And I watch it with my very own eyes. I watch the people that come through and they think they're just signing up to setting up a new structure, and they're going to do what they were doing in the public sector in their new structure, and happy days. And I'm like, oh man, you're in for a ride. But hey, I'm here to support you, because I can see the heart of the matter, and it all comes down to the heart of the matter. And this is where I think our economies is changing. We're moving out of this profit-based economic structure and moving into the heart-based service, providing solutions to our communities, providing the things, the very things that have been shut down, suppressed, and withdrawn, because it does solve the problems, you know. So there is a lot of good humans out there doing a lot of good things, and this transition assists them so that those good deeds, those good solutions, those good services, they can't be stopped.
No.
And this is the ascension model, right? Because this is what God does want here. So there is a power, a very high power, that is backing this and protecting this and supporting this. So even in those times of deep despair and fear and going, oh no, am I going to go to jail? Like, I sit in deep level of trust, knowing that I'm a fucking good human doing really good things. So anyway, yes, it is.
It's important, Abbey. I just, you know, just to underline that. And this is, again, I want to honor you and celebrate you for this, because I see a lot of people in the world, and this is for everyone listening, this movement of financial sovereignty. It's since COVID, it's gone into like a tsunami drive, right? There's people popping up everywhere doing this, and it's beautiful. I think it's overall, it's a good sign. However, I see personally within the financial sovereignty movement, there's not so much of the practical components of it combined with the ascension, loving, light, spiritual components coming together. And you do a really good job of integrating those two. Have you noticed that within your sort of world?
100%. And that's why I do it the way that I do it, because, you know, people need that level of support. They need that level of like emotional, energetic spiritual and physical support. There's a lot of cowboys out there that'll be like, hey, yeah, I'll set you up a structure, send me $5,000, happy days, and they hand the paperwork over, and then they're just left to like flounder around and figure it out for themselves. And it's like, this is not what this is about. We're losing the integrity of what this is about. We have to stay true to the nature of this, because it actually comes back, it does come back to the Bible and biblical times, and a lot of the laws, natural laws, and we go through the law of nations. It all comes back to that, and at the crux of it all is really, it comes back to heart-centered service, and people coming into this space and wanting to provide solutions just to make a quick buck, or people wanting to swap out their structures just to save a quick buck. Yeah,
It's not heart.
Yeah, so we're leading with self-service, and when you lead with self-service and greed, I mean, I don't judge anyone based on that, but I do have to give the disclaimer, because I personally don't judge anyone for the reasons that they do anything, but I have to let people know that if this is not coming from the right place, you will have a lot of road bumps.
Yeah.
A lot of road bumps. And those road bumps are there to push you into the integrity of it, because your soul deeply desires it. And that's why it's there. So,
and if you don't have the support, if you don't have the guidance through that, if you're by yourself, I think most people aren't going to get through those roadblocks, the fear, the government, etc. Right?
Yeah, because ultimately, like, I just look at it like this: when you remove all of the constraints of obligations and compliance, and you can focus wholly and solely on your mission and the impact that you make to humanity. Like, when we remove those obligations, we have capacity. And when we're not in fear and worry, and we're in more capacity, we then start to create. The soul was here for love. And when we're in love, we create, and we innovate.
But I want to give an example of this, Abbey. I want to give a very practical example of this so people can put these two dots together. So, and this is a worldwide government thing, but I'm going to use Australia as an example. So here in Australia, we have something called goods and service tax, GST, right? And I've noticed this in my business world. Energetically, I would be capping my potential based off the knowledge that there is this certain threshold that we cross, that more government implications start to apply to me. So energetically, there's a piece of me. It's like, I have all this abundant creative potential in my business, but I don't want to go beyond that threshold because there's fear of daddy government coming in to authorize their power over me. Can you, 100%. Using that example, Abbey, can you explain that?
That cap, right? Because that's what stifles your success, and that's what keeps you small. When we've got these thresholds and these compliance obligations imposed on us, that's when it's like, there's a lot of creative, spiritual entrepreneurs out there that aren't successful because of those thresholds. Because with more money becomes more stress, becomes more compliance, becomes more bills to pay, more, right? And these are some of the belief systems. And what about if none of that existed and you just got to create, and it was limitless, and it didn't matter, because every creation that you bring into this world is in divine service, and as a result, you're remunerated for that. Like, the most valuable resource on the face of this planet is human energy. And you are able to be remunerated for your energy. It is most valuable resource. So what you spend your energy on, your time and your energy and your attention on, is important.
Yeah. And it's, there's so much in here, Abbey. I could talk to you about this for hours, but just, the etymology of the word abundance is flow, right? It's constant flow, right? So abundance that we are, it exists inside of us in that flow, but we make the choice to put these caps on it to stop that flow from moving.
And
Right?
I'd like to raise a point here, like this
Please.
is a little bit of my accounting brain. Why do you think everything financial comes back to water, cash flow, liquid assets? Yeah. Like everything comes back to water, and we're 80% water. We're the real wealth. We are the real wealth. And when you can be in flow, and when you can be in truth to who you are, that's when you hit the abundance.
Yeah.
Ultimate abundance.
Yeah. My guide / higher self keeps prompting me to ask this question to you, Abbey, so I don't want to forget it. You mentioned before, and I would love for you to explain this concept, because I think this will really, this put on light bulbs for me, so I feel it will help put light bulbs on for other people. You mentioned the term, the straw man, and the concept of the straw man. So for people that are new to this world, financial sovereignty, I know people could go Google it, but can you just give us a simple overview of what the concept of the straw man is?
Yeah, great. Yes, the straw man. The straw man. So the straw man is, where shall I start? I don't want to blow too many brains, or do I? Should we just go there?
Up to you, Abbey. I'm ready. I'm ready to
Well, you
receive it.
can YouTube it. There's plenty of YouTube videos that explain the straw man, but I'll give you my little rendition today. So the straw man is basically a commercial instrument that was created at birth. So when you were born, you were cut from life force. You were cut from life force energy, the umbilical cord, predominantly too early. And your mother and father gave you a name. Yeah, they named you. And the hospital took this name and they put it on a piece of paper, right? And then that piece of paper was filed in with the government. So first and foremost, that is copyright infringement, because the intellectual property of your name was taken and then put onto this commercial instrument. And that commercial instrument is what's known as a birth certificate. And you spend your entire life believing that this birth certificate is a representation of your identity. But actually, it's not. It is a representation of a trust that was created at birth, a trust that everybody has. And when you were born, you inherited your natural wealth into this trust from the World Bank. And that natural wealth compounds and grows. And when you hit around 27, it gets capped. It gets capped at the value of around $231 million. Now, when I learned this, I was like, this cannot be true, right? How can this be true? How can I be worth $231 million, yet I've got $500 in the bank? Like I really struggled. But yes, we are the asset. Yeah. We are like cattle that is traded, profited, human activity. And it's the dependency on this birth certificate and the agreements that we make with it.
That's the key.
Yeah.
And that's the key, right? And that's what connects us to loans. That's what connects us to tax. That's what connects us to all the services that we opt in for, correct?
Right, because we opt into these services thinking that they are for our benefit. And whilst we may receive a benefit, it's not the benefit. And it's not like the birth certificate is of value. What is of value is the information that's on the birth certificate. And what is paramount is that you understand that in the law of duality, we have life and we have death. So with your birth, there was a death, right? The law of duality. So the birth certificate is actually the representation of your dead twin, the placenta. And with knowing that, it's not that it ceases to exist, But if we can imagine the death of the placenta is more like a small child, and it's like this little child version of you. And I'm like, hi, little Abbey. I'm so sorry. I used you and I didn't even know. I didn't even know that you existed. But now I do know that you exist. I'm going to lovingly embrace you. I'm not going to reject you. There's a lot of people that want to reject the birth certificate. They want to apply for
burn the system.
Yeah. And it's like, no, we don't need to reject it. We actually need to lovingly embrace it and say, hey, okay, these agreements, it's taken me until today years old to get tied up in all of these agreements. It's not going to take me weeks to get out of it. It's probably going to take more than years, right? But now I have the understanding of this construct. So I get to choose. I get to choose when I want to agree to the service and when I don't want to agree to the service.
Yeah.
So this is the power of it. It's not about just knowing the straw man. It's understanding the straw man and the nature of the straw man and how it affects your life and how you can make decisions that are going to empower you. Now, the decisions that empower me are different to the decisions that empower you. I'm not here to tell anybody what to do. I'm simply here to educate so that those who want to make the different decisions because they have areas of their life where they feel disempowered, we get to make those decisions.
So first of all, Abbey, well done on keeping all of that into a little precise little box. As people heard, it's a lot. If you're hearing all that for the first time, when I heard it, it sort of just blew me out of the water, and fear came up just in the hearing of it. So this is not, as Abbey beautifully said, a one and done thing. And that's why people like Abbey and why I wanted to bring Abbey on the show, to help people to see, listening and tuning in, that it's okay to need help with this kind of stuff. It's okay to hold your hand out to someone and say, hey, you're 2 years, 3 years, 4 years in the future of this process. What do I need to do? Right. I want to put on my conspiracy hat for a second, Abbey, because I know that you've probably gone down this rabbit hole.
As long as it's a foil one.
Yes, exactly. Always a foil one. I just want to ask you, with this straw man setup and being a part of the corporation that is the country that we're born into, in your opinion, from your experience and everything that you've seen, why do you think it's like that? Why do we have this straw man birth certificate set up? Yeah, I just want to ask why and see what your thoughts are on this.
It's for profit, right? Because we had God, and God created man and woman, right? But then it was man and woman that created the Queen, the Pope, the institutions, and the governments. And it was the Queen, the Pope, the institutions, and the governments that created the person, the individual, in divided duality, the straw man, right? And that was created for profit. Birth certificates, I believe, way back when, were exactly that. Well, you think about what used to happen is we were families, right? Tribes. And when there was a birth, it was recorded in the family Bible. That's the power. That's like the trust. The trustee is the father of the tribe. Right? So there was a time in history where we moved away from recording this information in the family Bible to it becoming corporatized, and corporatized so that down the line, someone at the top was profiting off the activity.
Yeah. Again, a lot of other rabbit holes we could go down there, but I just wanted you to elaborate that for people. I think one word that I would also add to that, on top of profit, another P word is power, right? It helps the people that, are in control, continue to have control, continue to have power, right? So which is why I appreciate your work so much, because the direct response to power, the direct response to control, the best response will always be love, right? Will always be ascension and unity and coming back together, right?
So,
Speaking of that, I want to go into more of your passion in this world, Abbey. And it's not just, again, helping people out of these structures and systems, but it's coming back to that word that we spoke about earlier. It's legacy, right? It's creating legacy. So I guess where I want to start with this, Abbey, is we mentioned setting up your own system, detaching yourself from the straw man. What does this legacy journey begin with? Where do we start with this, and what sort of comes up in you? Why are you so inspired around it?
yeah, every soul has a legacy. Every soul. Everyone is here for something. Everyone is here for something. And if we look at soul purpose, there's a lot of souls out there that are searching for their purpose. And I'm going to just help you out here a little bit and end that search today. Because every soul purpose is love. We're all here for love.
Can you say that again, Abbey, just
Love.
so everyone heard it?
All here for love. Your soul's purpose is love. Period. Now, some people are going, well, that's a bit wanky. How am I going to make money on love? My dear child, every soul is unique, right? So it's the expression of that love. Every soul is unique. So what I like to do is I uncover the unique soul expression of love, and we get like a soul's vision. And I drop people into a bit of a process, and we connect to that vision. And when we connect to that vision, you might not see what it is, and you might not know what it is, but you might just be able to feel it. If you can at least feel the energy of the greatest vision for your life, that is going to set you on a trajectory towards working towards your legacy.
Yeah.
So every soul has a legacy. And because I was in public practice accounting, traditional accounting, I was completely indoctrinated. I had my own public practice, bookkeeping, accounting, the whole hog. And when I woke up and learned the truth, I transitioned, but I was still operating in the public domain, public accounting domain, and something wasn't right. And I knew that it wasn't right because I was coming up against triggers, right? I was constantly triggered in my business. I was hitting overwhelm. I was frustrated. It was hard. I was clawing uphill. It was an uphill battle. Things weren't running effortlessly. And it was through connecting to the energy of the greatest vision for my life. I had no idea what it was. If someone told me back then what I would be doing now, I would have laughed. Like my soul at that level would not have comprehend. I couldn't possibly have imagined it, but I kept connecting to the vision. And when you connect to the vision or the energy of the vision and you don't know what it looks like, this beautiful thing starts happening because it's the law of manifestation, right? Law of attraction. When you're connecting to the energy and you're bringing it into the now, what happens? Well, opportunities start presenting themselves. You will stumble across information. You will learn new things. You will receive downloads. You will, and slowly but surely, this vision will start coming to life.
Yeah.
And luckily for me, deeply connected to my soul and my essence and God source. And I kept my vibration high. Because when you have a high vibration, the waves are really fast. Yeah. And when you have a low vibration, you're in fear and scarcity, the waves are slow. So when you have a higher vibration and the waves are fast, those wave highs and lows, that's one wave, that's a connection to source. Right? So in a high vibration, you can have 10 connections to source, that one low vibrational wave. So I was receiving lots of downloads, lots of energy, lots of people coming into my world, opportunities landing, presenting themselves. I would stumble across information and I would have epiphanies and connect dots, and it was like I was co-creating the vision with the universe.
Yeah.
So just to bring it right back, it's about love, because in those moments I was in love with my vision, with self, keeping my vibration high in the truth of my own expression. So then as a result, in my business and financial world, it just unfolded beautifully.
So I might have to clip that as the trailer for this podcast, Abbey, because this podcast, my book, I've named The Cosmic Love Antenna, and one of the biggest reasons for that is what you just outlined beautifully in your own beautiful expression and unique way. We become, once we awaken and unlock the love that we are, the love that is all around us, we dance with it, right? We dance with it, and that's what you just described. I do want to ask though, because I want to, this is not an Abbey thing. This is not a Harrison thing. This is something we all can, this is our birthright, in my opinion. You have a beautiful Facebook group as a part of your process called Untethered, right? And this stepping out of the matrix and all of the governmental financial paradigms and blocks is a process of that untethering, pathway. My question for you, Abbey, is, have you noticed a connection or a correlation between how much someone untethers themselves from, let's use the Australian example, GST, the tax system, creating a PMA? Have you noticed a correspondence between the amount they untether and their access to that love state that you just talked about?
100%. Because when you're in fear, love cannot exist. Fear and love cannot coexist. So when we're doing things because we're told to, or we're focusing so hard on making sure our accounting is up to date so we can lodge the BASs and then have our profit and loss and then do like 1 minute, we just finished 1 year of compliance and then the next year rolls over. So we're in this constant state of like having to catch up or having to comply. And it's like, well, when you completely remove that and money management gets to be this beautiful synergy that you have with the law of cosmic currency, right? And I say money management is a spectrum. Some people love to micromanage, right? They love the numbers, they love the key point indicators, they love watching that grow and assessing it. And then others are just in complete divine trust and surrender. And I can only speak on my own behalf in this sense. Is I used to be the accounting brain micromanaging, but the more I let go of that, and I don't even give a flying cahoots what's in my bank balance. True financial freedom is knowing that I have the ability to create whatever financial reality I desire, that all of my needs and wants are provided for, and I always have enough money to create the solutions, the projects, and do the things to spread the word that I need. And it's the law of sufficiency.
Yeah.
And when you step into that space of abundance and love, because you're in gratitude for what you have, and you're in beautiful harmony of the giving and receiving, more just flows. More just flows. So it's like when we let go of all the have tos and we step into all of the want tos, you're not then just doing business and complying. You're making a difference, and it's like this beautiful dance with just, I call it cosmic currency.
Yeah, I love it, Abbey. I think this is why I've been pulled to your work so much, is just because we speak the same language from different angles, from a different viewpoint, but it's the same thing. I in your beautiful community this week, you were speaking to this week or last week, I can't remember, but very recently you were speaking to different perspectives on this approach, right? Different perspectives on financial sovereignty, the accountancy process, helping people set up PMAs and sovereign jurisdictions that they can be themselves in and create abundance. And it made me consider that you, as this person, Abbey, as this brand that you are, that's speaking about all these things, you must get a lot of pushback. You must get a lot of people in the community, whether it be other accountants, whether it be, just people in general that are on the journey. I don't want to say attacking, but I want to say just throwing things at you and maybe even discrediting what you're saying. So I guess what I want to ask you, Abbey, is how do you stay strong in that legacy mission? How do you stay strong in a sector that there's still a lot of fear? There's still a lot of fear consciousness. There's still a lot of people projecting their shit onto you, and you're here just shining your light. How do you ground amongst all that?
Well, I'm actually standing on a block of selenite, so I do that.
That helps. That helps.
Look, your reality reflects what is inside of you. So in the earlier days, when I had fear inside of me on an unconscious level, I would be met with accountants, solicitors, financial planners, all sorts of financial professionals that would tell me I'm wrong, tell me I'm crazy. I would get death threats. I would be gaslit. I would receive that quite a lot. And it's been interesting because I've noticed now, probably over the last 12 months, it's gone a bit quiet. And I think it's just because I have such unwavering power and truth and conviction, and I'm passionate and I'm on purpose and I'm on mission. And I don't care, because I know if anyone comes into my field with that kind of energy, that's a reflection on them, not me. And I will be there to support and hold them through that. I won't allow it, like I won't take it on. And I will just hold them in love, because I can see where it's coming from, because my very existence questions and threatens theirs.
Yeah.
Because there's these people in those professional spaces that, with the nature of what I share, it throws everything, like throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah.
What's the point of it all? Right. So they fear that existential crisis that could potentially be looming should they play into the idea that what I speak is true, right? So I hold them in love around that. And what's been really funny is now, instead of being met with that rejection, the fear, the death threats, the whatever, I'm met with curiosity.
Yeah.
And I used to have a policy where I wouldn't let financial professionals in my space because I just didn't trust them.
Yeah.
And now my space is thriving with professionals who not only are curious, but are open and understand, and they want to learn and they want to do the same. And that's why we have the Awakened Accountants Association. Like, it's because I can't bear the brunt of this on my shoulders. I need people like me that are doing the same, right? So together we rise, like together we get to create these solutions. So it's been really beautiful to witness that transition, but I want to bring it back that it does come back to you and what's on the inside of you, because you create your reality. You're the creator, right? We think of the Matrix as a game, right? You're not the player in the game. You're not even the gamer playing the game. You're the fucking coder coding the game. You are the creator. So when we can completely dismantle all the bullshit that's going on inside of us, clear away all those dense energies, emotions, traumas, debris, and know that you are the divine creator, anything you want, you can have, your life will start depicting that. Your life, and I see it every day, and I love it. And I just choose to believe that I don't actually believe there's like some big tax boogeyman sitting on his high chair that's going to come down and rah. I actually believe that there are all these humans operating within these governmental departments and structures that have no idea.
Yeah.
They have no idea. If they really knew what they were doing, they wouldn't do it. But they don't know because it's been so compartmentalized and fragmented. No one's got any idea. So it's like anytime I'm even on the phone with an agent of the government, I'm treating them like a human being. I'm not saying, hex you, fuck the government, exit the matrix. I'm going, oh, you've probably got a wife and children at home.
Yeah.
It's trying to put food on the table. Like, let's have a proper conversation here and talk about what this is really all about. And when I educate you a little bit, we'll see what the outcome of that is.
Ah, so good, Abby. So much in there. I hope everyone was taking notes on that beautiful speech. Like, first of all, this is why that the financial journey cannot be just a financial sovereignty journey. It needs to be a spiritual journey, right? This is why we started this conversation talking about this, is for that exact beautiful depiction. Have you heard, do you know what the term egregore is, Abby? Have you heard that term before? So an egregore, there's a beautiful book I'd encourage if you want to read it, or people listening. It's called Egregores by Mark Stavish. And an egregore is a collective thought form. It is a thought form that we all create thought forms, right? The limiting belief of I'm not enough, I'm not worthy. That's a thought form. But if enough people think the same thing, they create a collective thought form, which is called an egregore. And the tax man, or the tax boogeyman, is an egregore, right? That it's a thing that doesn't exist, but because we have all these individuals thinking the same thing about it, it does exist, and we have a negative energetic relationship with it, and we think and have fear around it, right? So it becomes a real thing, but as you beautifully said, it became a real thing because we created it. So if we can create it, we can uncreate it, we can release it, we can let it go, right?
Yeah.
Abby, I have a couple more questions here because I want to be respectful of your time, but I want to get them in. You, again, I've been in your field. I've been stalking you, Abby. You shared another story that I want to pull out here and ask a question around. I was very jealous. You got to experience Gary Vaynerchuk, I think last week, was it, or the week before? Very recently.
I think we're nearly a month ago.
Yeah.
Weeks.
Yeah. And I'm a big fan of him himself because he also speaks about the loving entrepreneur perspective, right? But you shared a story around, you went to the event and you shared in the collective of the people there, I forget the exact words that you said, but something along the lines of who would be interested in finding out about how to exit the financial system and, you know, become sovereign, do all the things that we've been talking about today. And as soon as you asked the question, you got a wave, almost the whole community and the crowd put up their hands, and you expressed that you felt it. So my question here within this anecdote of your experience is, because you're in this world and you're seeing this daily, where do you think this financial sovereignty journey with accountants, spiritual accountants like you, where is it going from a collective perspective? What do you foresee a year from now, 2 years from now, with all these individual nodes starting to wake up and untether themselves?
Truthfully, I can only connect to the energy of that right now. I can't actually see what that looks like. Sometimes it's too big for me to even, because when I connect to the energy, it's like, oh, right. But I've just got to keep on keeping on. And it's funny you mentioned that experience, because my whole nervous system after that just went into full right, because it wasn't fear at all. If anything, I think it was my soul's recognition of something that I didn't know prior to that. I saw an opportunity, and yes, the question was posed. I think it was Ethan Donati said, who could talk about something for days? Raise your hand. And I raised my hand because I know I say this to my community. I'm like, I could talk about this for days and still not be done. And I raised my hand, and I was like, I'm always VIP life, right? Abbey Rose is VIP, and she's front and center. I was in the front row, in the middle. Gary V's right there. That's where I belong, front and center. And I just wanted to absorb everything. So Ethan obviously came straight for me. And I said, he's like, what could you speak on for days? And I said, how to exit the tax system legally, never pay $1 of tax again. And he was like, wow, who in this room would want to hear what she has to say on that? Every single person put their hand up. And I can appreciate that, because nobody wants to pay tax. Let's be honest. Nobody wants to pay tax. But I also have to tread carefully, because the people who complain about paying taxes, or some of the people who complain about paying taxes, when I share some information around it and some truth around it, they will quickly then defend their position of paying taxes like a badge of honor, like virtue signaling. Look at me, I'm a good citizen. I pay my taxes. It goes to the roads and the infrastructure and the welfare. Look at me, I'm amazing. And again, unconscious blueprint passed down from generation to generation. What you believe, just because you get a beautiful, colorful little graph on the back of your notice of assessment doesn't mean that's where the money actually went. Right?
And I don't, just to jump in here, Avi, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, because we're streaming on YouTube at the moment, and I want to be mindful of what's allowed to be said and what's not allowed to be said. But I just want to put people's attention to the last few years of events and what has happened in the world and what our funds went towards and the outcomes that they produced. I'll just say that. Keep going.
Also bearing in mind that you're also worth 231 million. Right. So I do share the inner workings of how this all comes about. But the main point being, this isn't for the masses right now. I don't think that my nervous system could handle the masses. It's definitely not mainstream. And it also comes with a level of integrity and certain criteria that people need to meet. So when I vet absolutely everybody, and this is why legacy is so important, because if you're not in business for legacy, you do not meet the criteria. It's as simple as that. And that's where the awakening is, because people who think that they're in business for money, and they want, or people who are in business for money, but then they want to exit the matrix, and then they learn that they have to be about legacy, not money. They go through this internal adjustment and shift to naturally shift into that humanitarian space from a place of truth. So that is the awakening. So that's not for everyone. And I even have been in crowds where I thought in those crowds that they would be my people, that they would be those people, those legacy people who are here for impact and for drive and for mission and for humans that just lovingly linking arms with other humans and assisting them. And I quickly realized that I was a little bit mistaken, and that's okay. That's okay. Not their time, but maybe in the future. So it's just about sharing the information and the education to awaken, but then also holding the integrity piece.
Yeah.
Right.
and loving
Loving.
everyone wherever they're at, right?
Yeah.
And to me, what it brings up, Abby, is if we've mentioned love a few times here today, and the love that I relate to as my higher power that we talked about as the source of everything isn't just love, it's unconditional love in its essence. So
Absolutely.
applying that to this situation, you are loved wherever you're at in your journey. There's no way that you get this life wrong. There's no man at the end of this life that's going to tick you wrong or right and push you into one direction or not, based off whether you said yes to what Abby is saying or no to what Abby is saying, right? It's you win both ways, right?
Love always wins.
Yeah. Abby, I have one question for you to finish off, but before I get to that, you, as people have hopefully tuned into, you have so much value and support and guidance and hand holding to offer this world. So if people want to find out more about Abbey Rose, they want to start the financial sovereignty journey, where would you like to direct them to begin that process?
Yeah, well, it does all mainly start in that Untethered private Facebook group. There's some questions that people need to answer upon entry, and I'm strict. If you don't answer those questions, I don't let you in. And it's simple as that, because I want to know each human that I'm bringing in. I personally vet them. But also it's because I want to keep the space safe. When you come into the Abbey Rose world, you're entering my world. And in my world, that's where I feel safe to share what I want to share. And trust me, it goes much deeper than what we've been touching on today. And it comes with a level of respect. I'll respect you, you respect me. So that's why I create these private spaces. And then I also create other private spaces beyond that, beyond the social media and interwebs, because I'm very much about human connection and what happens when people come together in groups. So yeah, that's the first place to start. And it's such a beautiful group. I want to start doing a lot more in that space. I never thought I would be here.
Or 4,000 members.
Well, we just hit 4,000 members,
Mm.
and I want to just, for any of those out there that are really wanting to build like social media presences and followers and those kind of vanity metrics don't mean shit. It doesn't matter how many followers you got. It doesn't matter how many likes you get. And I've got 4,000 people in this group, but I'm telling you, that's 4,000 very
Yeah.
devoted fans, like just community people. So to me, it's quality over quantity. And every single soul that's in that group is just such a beacon of light and hope. And there's such amazing things.
Yeah.
There are amazing things that are happening in that space, that things that don't exist in the world, that are in its creation stages.
Yeah.
So exciting.
And I want to just share a reflection with you, Abby, that maybe you haven't acknowledged about yourself as someone who has this container and then the other processes that you help people through. And I share this for people tuning in because you have probably picked this up from Abby. There's no pushing, there's no forcing, there's no, because again, and no judgment on these people, but there are a lot of, and this goes beyond the accountancy and financial sovereignty world. This goes into coaching and mentoring in general. I see this in my world, right? There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of people that are saying, okay, you're in the group and then now you need to do this thing. You got this limit. If you don't do it. And to me, what I feel in that approach is fear, right? It's fear. It's do this or else. And that's not love. And Abby, you do this beautifully in just the spaces you create. It's open, you're ready, you can come in, but do it at your own pace.
100%, always. I've got people that have signed up to financial sovereignty when I first launched it, and they still haven't booked their strategy with me. And that's because I have to honor where they're at. Because this journey is such a ever unfolding. You have to be ready for it. And I've seen what happens when people who are not ready for it just dive headfirst in. It can be brutal. Yeah. So, there's a lot of people in the group that haven't been on a sovereign session yet, but the curiosity is what got them there. And in their own time, I will lovingly encourage people to step forward and make progress. But I've seen someone sign up 3 years after joining the group, and I've just got nothing but love for that, because whatever their journey has been in that 3 years has led them to that point where they then connected again and gone, Abbey, it's time. And I'm like, yes, it is time. Time is limitless. There is no rush. Time is stretchy, and I just think it's always in divine timing.
Yep. Could not agree more, Abbey. We have so much more to talk about. I want to be respectful of your beautiful time today, Abbey. I will, for everyone's tuning in, if you want to connect with Abbey, her Facebook group and her next steps, her website, I'll put it in the show notes so you can click on it, go straight to there, join the group, become part of this mission. If you're ready, if not, you're loved regardless. Okay. My final question for you, Abbey, before we finish, and you've kind of answered it in many ways already today, but I'd love to hear it regardless. This is the cosmic love antenna. A reason for that, as I've already explained to you, is in many ways I see God, presence, source, that one place that we're all derived from as love, as the consciousness of love. So I'm wondering, in your world, Abbey, how do you define that love word personally?
My doggies. No, my dog's just like growling. I'm like, what are you growling at?
Perfect timing.
No, but dogs do really is the unconditional love, right? So love, love, love. What is my interpretation of the divine love? Well, I think it is a spectrum. Love is a spectrum. There's different levels of love, different depths. There's also different expressions of love. Recently, I've just been initiated into deeper levels of an unconditional love. And it comes back to the one thing that really stands out for me in my quest of love is how, the love of a child, the love of a mother, the love of a friend, the love of a partner, the love of your mission, the love of your legacy, they all fill different parts of your soul. And I think that no one love can be its entirety. And the biggest thing has been, I've read a book, I don't know if you're familiar with it, it's called The Shack. I read it years and years ago, The Shack, and then it was turned into a movie as well. I watched the movie, it wasn't anywhere near as good as the book. And it was, God's love, the love for a child, and how unconditional that is. And I think if we can look at each other as all children of God, and we are God, and have that love, like, sometimes people fuck up and that's okay. We can still lovingly hold them to discipline them. But, I just feel these deeper initiations into that unconditional love. And I think the more that you can hold yourself in that space, the more open you are to total fulfillment in life in all areas. And it's a beautiful thing.
Wonderful, Abbey. When you say all that,
the question, but
no, you did. You went
a little tangent on love.
You went everywhere love was needed, Abbey. I love you. I love your work in the world, and I appreciate the soul that you are. Thank you for being the bright, beautiful light that you are, and for doing this work. And I appreciate your time today.
Oh, so much love for you too. Back at you. Thank you for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Beautiful beings. If you joined us today on live and on Facebook, on LinkedIn, YouTube, I hope this awakened you to a certain degree. If this hit your heart, if you're listening on the podcast, please share this out with someone that you think needs this information and education. But regardless, Abbey and I love you deeply. And until next time here on the show, we send you love, we send you light, and we'll see you again very soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye.